For 6 long years, Siddhartha wandered through the forests and villages of ancient India, seeking teachers who might show him the path to liberation from suffering. He studied with the greatest spiritual masters of his time, learning techniques of meditation so advanced that he could enter states of consciousness beyond ordinary thought and feeling. But even these elevated states, beautiful as they were, eventually faded. He realized that temporary peace was not enough. He sought something permanent, unshakable, a truth that would remain constant like the North Star guiding travelers home. Believing that perhaps extreme austerity might lead to awakening, Siddhartha joined a group of 5 ascetics who practiced the most severe forms of self-denial. For years, he ate only a single grain of rice each day, until his body became so thin that his ribs showed through his skin like the frame of a leaf. His hair fell out, his eyes grew sunken, and he became so weak that he could barely walk. But even this extreme practice did not bring him the enlightenment he sought. One day, as he sat by a river, barely alive from his starvation, he heard a music teacher instructing his student on a boat that passed nearby. If you tune the strings too loose, they will not play. If you tune them too tight, they will break. The beautiful music comes from finding the perfect middle way. In that moment, Siddhartha understood. Truth was not to be found in extreme indulgence or extreme deprivation, but in the balanced path between the two. He accepted food from a kind village girl named Sujata, who offered him rice pudding made with the sweetest milk. As his strength returned, so did his clarity of purpose. His 5 companions, seeing him eat, believed he had given up the spiritual path and left him alone. But Siddhartha knew better. He had found something far more valuable than extreme practices. He had found wisdom. As the full moon of the month of May rose over the ancient forests of Bodh Gaya, Siddhartha came to rest beneath a magnificent tree, a sacred fig tree with heart-shaped leaves that seemed to whisper secrets in the evening breeze. This tree, which would later be known as the Bodhi tree, the tree of awakening, spread its protective branches above him like a mother's embrace. Siddhartha sat down beneath this tree, crossed his legs in the lotus position, and made a vow that resonated through his entire being. Even if my body withers away, even if my flesh and blood dry up, I will not rise from this spot until I have found the complete end to suffering. As the night deepened and the forest grew quiet, Siddhartha entered into meditation deeper than any he had ever known. His mind became as still as a mountain lake at dawn, reflecting the truth of existence with perfect clarity. In the first watch of the night, he gained the ability to see his countless past lives stretching back through endless time. He saw himself as a prince, as a farmer, as a merchant, as an animal, as a being in countless forms, all connected by the thread of consciousness seeking to understand its true nature. In the second watch of the night, he developed the divine eye that could see all beings throughout the universe, their births, their deaths, their joys, their sorrows, and the actions that carried them from life to life like rivers flowing toward the San, the final watch of the night. As the morning star appeared in the eastern sky, Siddhartha's mind penetrated to the very root of existence. He saw clearly how suffering arises from attachment and craving, and more importantly, how it can completely cease. He understood the four noble truths that would become the foundation of all his teaching. The truth that life contains suffering. Birth is difficult. Aging brings pain. Illness causes distress. Death brings sorrow. And even our happiest moments are tinged with the knowledge that they cannot last forever. The truth that this suffering has a cause. Our constant craving for things to be different than they are, our attachment to pleasures that fade, our resistance to changes that must come, the truth that suffering can end, that there is a state of perfect peace where all craving has ceased, where the heart rests in unshakable contentment, and the truth that there is a path to this peace, the noble eightfold path of right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. As this final truth dawned in his consciousness like the sun rising after the longest night, Siddhartha became the Buddha, the awakened one, the one who had seen reality exactly as it is. The earth itself is said to have trembled with joy, flowers rained from the sky, and all beings throughout the universe felt a moment of inexplicable peace, as if a great burden had been lifted from existence itself. For 7 weeks, the newly awakened Buddha remained near the Bodhi tree, experiencing the profound bliss of liberation. He walked slowly around the tree in meditation. He sat gazing at it with gratitude for its shelter during his struggle. He rested in the perfect peace he had discovered. But as these weeks passed, a question arose in his mind. Should he share this truth with others, or remain in solitary bliss? The teaching seemed so subtle, so difficult to understand, that he wondered if anyone would be able to grasp it. At that moment, as the ancient stories tell, the very spirit of compassion itself appeared before him and said, "There are beings with only a little dust in their eyes who will understand. Please teach, for the sake of all who suffer." And so, with infinite compassion, the Buddha decided to share his discovery. He walked 150 miles to Sarnath, near the holy city of Benares, where his 5 former companions were still practicing their severe austerities. When they saw him approaching, they planned to ignore him, believing he had abandoned the spiritual path. But as he drew nearer, they saw something in his presence that made them fall silent. There was a radiance about him, a quality of complete peace that needed no words to announce itself in the deer park at Sarnath. Surrounded by gentle deer who seemed to understand the sacredness of the moment, the Buddha gave his first teaching. This discourse, known as the turning of the wheel of Dharma, laid out the 4 noble truths and the 8-fold path that would guide seekers for thousands of years to come. There is suffering, he said, his voice as gentle as wind through bamboo. This suffering has a cause. This suffering can end, and there is a path to its ending. The 5 monks listened with growing wonder as the Buddha explained the middle way, the path that avoids both extreme indulgence and extreme deprivation, the way of balance that leads to lasting peace. By the end of his teaching, all 5 had become his disciples, and the Buddhist Sangha, the community of practitioners, was born. For the next 45 years, until he was 80 years old, the Buddha walked the dusty roads of northern India, teaching anyone who came to him with an open heart. He taught kings and beggars, monks and householders, the educated and the simple, always adapting his words to what each person needed to hear. His teachings were like rain falling on different types of ground, the same truth nourishing each being according to their capacity to receive it. To those tormented by anger, he taught loving kindness. To those lost in confusion, he offered clarity. To those overwhelmed by desire, he showed the peace of contentment. The Buddha taught through stories and parables that touched the heart directly. When a grieving mother came to him carrying her dead child, begging him to bring the boy back to life, he did not refuse her directly. Instead, he sent her to find a mustard seed from a household that had never known death. As she went from house to house, each family sharing their own losses, she gradually understood that death comes to all, and her grief transformed into acceptance and peace. When an angry man came shouting insults at him, the Buddha simply asked, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" When the man replied that it would still belong to the giver, the Buddha smiled gently. "Then I do not accept your anger. It remains with you." He taught that all beings, humans, animals, even the smallest insects, possess the potential for awakening. He showed equal compassion to the elephant that charged him and the mouse that ran across his path. In the Jataka tales, stories of his past lives, he appeared sometimes as a wise human, sometimes as a generous animal, teaching that the essence of awakening transcends all forms. The Buddha's presence itself was a teaching. People would often find their minds becoming peaceful simply by being near him, as if tranquility itself had taken human form to walk among them.